So recently, I've been in a lot of discussions with newer developers to find out what their favorite resources are when it comes to learning how to code. And there's been one that I just don't see mentioned often enough, and that is subscribing to my YouTube channel. Actually, no, that's not what I want to talk about today. One of the most underrated programming tutorials is Michael Hartle's Ruby on Rails tutorial. Now, you might be thinking, oh, I don't really want to learn Ruby on Rails. That's not really what I want to do. I just want to focus on whatever it is you are focusing on. But no matter what your area of focus is, I think this tutorial could be extremely valuable to you if you're a newer developer. What he teaches goes way beyond just Ruby on Rails itself. You learn things like how to use version control, test-driven development, how to set up an environment. And throughout it all, he's just very good at explaining things. Like, it's definitely one of the best tutorials that I've ever read. When you're going through the tutorial, it starts off with just some real basic stuff, but then over the course of it, you end up building what is basically a Twitter clone. And I think that's a good way to learn, where it's like you learn the concepts and then you use the concepts to build a very large project. The tutorial is really designed for people who are new to developing. It could also be good for somebody with experience who is looking to learn Ruby on Rails, but if you have no prior experience, you can definitely hit the ground running with Michael Hartle's tutorial. One really nice feature about the tutorial is if you use the online version, he always makes sure that it's up to date. It's constantly updated. There's a lot of tutorials out there that soon after they're published, they're already out of date. Like, it's like as soon as they click it, it's like there's an update and then the tutorial doesn't really work for that specific technology. The online version of this tutorial will always be up to date and will always work. One important idea that he really hammers through the entire tutorial is this idea of technical sophistication. And the whole idea of technical sophistication is that if you are following the tutorial or you're just coding on your own and something just doesn't go quite right and you see an error or it's just not exactly what you see during the tutorial, you can just figure it out yourself somehow, either searching online or just trying different things, and that will just build up your technical sophistication. So in the future, when you run into problems, and you're always going to be running into little problems, you'll just be able to figure it out, or you'll just have more tools in your toolbox as far as figuring it out. You won't just have to follow things exactly as planned, and if things go slightly wrong, you have to start over or something, I don't know. But that's a really important thing if you're going to become a professional programmer, just developing that technical sophistication. And that is just an important quality across all languages. So no matter what type of developer you are in, and you will probably, if you have a long career, you're probably going to be working on a lot of different technologies over time. And that technical sophistication is just something that you'll always have. And it's just really important to get this mindset in early. Like, a lot of times you'll look at these Facebook groups for people that are learning to code, and a common post I'll see again and again is just, can someone teach me to code? And in a way, you can't, right? Like you can show people certain concepts and things, but at the same time, it's like you just have to practice it yourself. You have to just get in there and just program. It's like you can't teach someone how to swing a baseball bat with a YouTube video. They have to go and swing a baseball bat themselves. It's not like they can watch the video and instantly they're able to hit a home run or something. Now, this all might sound good, but you might still be thinking, well, I really don't want to learn Rails, so why would I spend all this time learning this tutorial? And I really think that you should give Rails a shot. Like, I think it has a lot of things going for it. First off, just learning any technology will just like broaden your understanding of all other technologies. So learning a new framework will make it so that you are better at learning additional frameworks in the future. And even if you're not going to use Rails itself in your career, you might be using a framework that acts the same way as Rails. So if you became like somewhat of an expert in Rails, you'll be able to pick up, say, Node a little bit easier because things will just be sort of analogous in your mind. So just getting exposed to something like Rails can definitely be helpful for your entire career. I think being an API developer can also just be a great career move. I can't guarantee there will always be iOS apps or Android apps forever, but there will always be the idea of APIs. The idea of just communicating with a remote server with a separate device. Like, that's going to exist our entire lifetime if you're watching this video. So if you become a Rails developer and you can develop APIs, you can really just parlay that into a long career of developing APIs with different technologies. And your skills will always be sought after. And I really think that if you follow this tutorial and you really absorb what's going on in it, you will be skilled enough to get a job as an API developer. This is just a matter of taste, but I do think Rails and Ruby is just cool. Like, I think if you've never checked it out, you really should, just to see if you like it, because now it could just be that I've only ever used it like recreationally and on my side projects, but I do think that it is very cool and I really like Ruby and Rails. If you've never used it, definitely check it out. Just knowing how to develop your own APIs, you can really make a much more impressive portfolio when you're trying to get your first programming job. Like if you make an Android app, that could be really cool and that could definitely help you get your job. But, you might be consuming someone else's API or just have no APIs at all. And, that's all right. And that can definitely help your career. But if you have, say, an Android app with a Rails API that you made yourself, and it could be something real simple. Like it doesn't have to be anything too complicated. Like the front end part of your app could be like the thing that you're really trying to sell yourself with. If you have an app where you write your own APIs in Rails, so you're using two technologies, like the front end app and then also the Rails APIs, that will definitely impress people. That will definitely impress some people, and that will definitely help you get a job. Now, I'm not affiliated with this tutorial in any way. I just think it's a good resource. I've never met Michael Hartle. I've never communicated with him, but I really do think that it's one of the best programming tutorials out there. I think it might be the best. I think it might actually be the best, and it's really underrated for what it is. And I really think he's just talented as someone writing a tutorial. Like the way he's able to explain things and then go back to our example and then go back to explaining things. Like it's a good balance, and I think his descriptions are really good, and you can definitely follow along with it, and it's a lot of fun. Like you'll see, like if you do decide to use this tutorial, the time will just fly by. Like it's a lot of fun. It's easy to follow along with, and it's very satisfying to just like build this little web app. So that's all I have to say about Michael Hartle's Ruby on Rails tutorial. I will leave a link in the description so you can easily find it after this video. And if you disagreed with this video, just leave a comment. What do you think is your favorite programming tutorial? What do you think is the best tutorial? Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great week.